could be world champion to play the white pieces halfway through the world championship match when I'm recording this. Sergei Karjarkin, and he's playing against Sararli, a very strong younger player from Azerbaijan, nice guy as well. And okay, it's a rapid event, but even Sergei playing this gives it some approval in against such a strong player. And you know, it's interesting to keep an eye on these rapid and blitz events because you see these interesting ideas surface. And let's have a look, because I think black played quite naturally. The game started d4, knight f6, now we go bishop f4, g6, and now knight c3. And we're either going to go e4 or we are going to play the system we get in the game here with d5 stopping e4, e3, and h4, h5 is our weird but interesting and intriguing follow-up. Bishop g7, bishop got to go there, and now h4. So we saw in the last game black castling kingside, which is a mistake because we can certainly get rolling with the move h5 immediately then. Got to be good for us. And I have to admit, this idea of h4, it seems to me in the last decade has become more and more popular in chess against certain openings. You'll see it coming up more and more again, and I think this could be another one of those. Now, black has also blundered horribly in this position before. There was one game where Karjarkin in 2016 was playing a 2,400 player, but his opponent played knight d7 here, and this is just a clear blunder. And after knight b5, black no longer had knight to a6, and already this position is, well, hopeless for black. The game continued castles, now bishop takes c7, queen e8, and Karjarkin went on to win. If I was white here, I'd probably played h5 now, combining the two plans. I still don't mind sacrificing. It looks absolutely fine to do that for me, but it's completely winning for a number of reasons. So now I think black plays the move that I would expect is the most natural in this position. c5, trying to meet a wing attack with an attack in the center. So this move seems extremely logical to me. Now, as a rule, this is a rule worth remembering, when you have your bishop on f4, knight on c3, if black plays the move c5 and black has not castled, so he has not castled, then I'm always recommending knight b5. This is not as good if black has castled because you may not even be threatening knight to c7, but here you certainly are. And there's only one decent way for black to stop this, and that is to go knight a6. There was one game where black castled now, but he didn't get enough compensation. This was another game played in China. Could call this the Chinese variation. Knight c7, and now black tried to get compensation with knight h5. The bishop has this very nice h2 square now, and pawn takes d4, knight c6, this was black's great idea. Knight takes a8, it is a rook. Knight takes d4, knight c7, that knight is slowly getting back into the game, it's okay on c7 for now. e5, c3, bishop g4, and again these are all just tricks, but they're not going to go anywhere. White is a rook up, queen d2, the knight move to f5, and here I don't see anything wrong with white playing knight takes d5. Nothing at all wrong with this, and this position indicated by the computer is just winning for white. White's a rook up. I mean, you know, we can't ask for more. So if, let's go back, after h4 c5, knight b5 is my suggestion because black has not castled. He has to go knight a6, otherwise he won't get adequate compensation. And now here, the reason we've gone knight to b5 is we only do this when black's gone c5 because our knight can now not ever be kicked away. And we're really playing with this knight on b5 versus the knight on a6. And the knight on b5, in my eyes, is much more active than this knight on a6. And our general idea is to go c3 and a4, just keeping that knight there. Now here, Sergei played pawn to c3 immediately. logical. It was a rapid play game. I actually think white can be a little bit more accurate here and gain a nice advantage by playing bishop e2. And this is another move which fits in perfectly with our h4 idea. And this is another move, and this is where you want to put your bishop generally. Why on e2? Well, it stops a lot of things and it creates some ideas. It stops bishop g4, allowing black to simplify, get rid of his typically bad bishop. It stops knight to h5, which can be a little bit annoying at times. And also, we are preparing h5 without even sacrificing. So if black castles, h5 must be a candidate move. And already we're playing on both sides of the board. So in this position, after the move c5, knight a6, I think bishop e2 would give white a nice edge. Your idea here is to go c3, a4, and then h5. Let's say black stops that. If he stops that, well, we can play with knight to f3, knight to e5, and we've just got a much easier game to play. Of course, the middle game is, it's not all over, but you got better pieces, slightly easier to play. Now, the game was still interesting, and Sergei went c3 in the game straight away, but this did allow bishop g4. And I think this is a good move because it swaps off some pieces. Bishop e2, and now some exchanges. Black castled. We don't really have h5 available anymore. Bishop e5 was played from white. I mean, knight g3 was certainly a consideration here, trying to prepare h5, and even here I prefer white. Black's pieces don't make much sense to me. They're not really doing anything. White's pieces are more active. The bishop on f4, the knight on b5, they're more actively placed. But bishop e5 was also logical because you're just trying to, at some point, swap off the bishops and weaken black's king. h5 played from black, stopping white doing any mischief, and now knight to f4. Queen d7, your knight is attacked, so a4. Remember, this is your setup here. This knight is a bit of a pest. It also stops the rook on a8 moving because you will grab the pawn on a7. Pawn takes d4, e takes d4, and black did move the knight. White captured on g7, f3, and here, well, white played g4, probably because it's a rapid play game. Had white gone castles kingside, white must have a small but steady advantage, with ideas of rook e1 and just coming with the rook to e5, maybe trying to get the queen to g5, or even to g3 at the right moment. And it's quite hard to see a good plan for black here. I mean, it's a long game. If it is a small advantage, it's only a small advantage. Other ideas is knight can come into e5, but it's still, in my eyes, an advantage for white. So he should have done this. I mean, he went g4. I won't go into the pros and cons and what happened with this move because I don't really believe it. It's a rapid play game. It's a bit of a caveman game, but this move, just to let you know, did not work out well. But this is the way I'm recommending you deal. Let's just go through it one more time. Hopefully I'm not boring you with my repetition, trying to get it into your minds. h4, and if c5, knight b5. Here, bishop e2 looks good, but we know the idea, just to play in normal developing way.